by Roger Hargreaves. On the other side of the world, there was a country called where the sun shines hotter than hair and where the trees are 100 feet tall. There's a country called Happy Land. As you can very imagine, everyone who lives in Happy Land is happy as the day is long. Wherever you go, you see smiling faces. And people are not the only thing that only smile there. In Happy Land, you can see happy mouses and happy dogs and happy worms. If you've never seen a dog smile or a worm or a mouse, go to Happy Land. This is a story about someone who lived there to be happened to be called Mr. Happy. Mr. was fat and round and happy. He lived in a small cottage beside the river. He was even beside a little forest, and they call it in Happy Land Happy Forest because the animals and squirrels over there are smiling. Even the trees smile there. One day, when Mr. Happy was out walking in the woods, he came to something really extraordinary. There, standing on a tree, was a door. Not a very large door, but definitely a door. A small, narrow door. Definitely a door. Completely, utterly a door. I wonder who lives here, said Mr. Happy, thought Mr. Happy to himself. He took hand of the small handle of the door and opened. Just inside the small door, Mr. Happy just squeezed his body and he saw steps. The steps went round and down and up and round and down and round. They went up. They went really far. After that, steps things, Mr. Happy came down from the steps and saw another door. But this one was red. It was a small one. Mr. Happy knocked at the door. Who's there? said a voice, a sad, squeaky sort of a voice. Who's that? Mr. Happy pushed open the door. And there, sitting on a stool, stood someone on a stool who exactly looked like Mr. Happy, but wasn't. He had a gloomy face. And then he didn't look happy. He just died down and looked miserable. Hello, said Mr. Happy. I'm Mr. Happy. Oh, are you? Said the sad person. Well, my name is Mr. Miserable, and I'm the most miserable person in the world. Why are you so miserable? Asked Mr. Happy. Because I am, replied Mr. Miserable. How would you like to be happy like me? Asked Mr. Happy. I'll do anything to be happy, but said Mr. Miserable, but I'm so miserable. He complained. I don't think I can ever be happy. Mr. Happy thought. Follow me, he said. Where to? Asked Mr. Miserable. Don't argue, said Mr. Happy, and he went out. through the small door. They went up again through the steps, up and up and up and round and up and round and up and round and up and round. Follow me, said Mr. Happy again. And they walked back to Mr. Happy's house, Mr. Happy's cottage. Mr. Miserable stayed in Mr. Happy's house for a while, and during that time, the most amazing thing happened. Because he was living in a happy land, Mr. Miserable stopped being miserable and started to be happy. His corners stopped turning down and started turning up and up and up and up again. Eventually, Mr. Miserable did something he had never done in his whole life before. He smiled, and then he chuckled, which turned into a giggle and became a laugh. A big booming, husky, enormous, unbearable laugh. And Mr. Happy was so surprised, he started to laugh as well. Most of them laughed and laughed and laughed. Mr. Miserable and Mr. Happy came outside, and they still laughed at Mr. And because they were laughing everywhere, everybody who saw them started laughing as well. Someone called home Mr. Miserable, who just couldn't stop laughing. And that is very the end of the story. Except to say, if you're miserable as Mr. Miserable used to be, you know what to do, don't you? Just turn your mouth up